The stars were silent, but silence was not peace. Across the galaxy, the gentle race of the Threlians trembled in fear. Their people had always lived in harmony. They were builders, singers, and dreamers. Their cities were like gardens of light, full of art and beauty. But now smoke covered those shining towers. The enemy had come. The Jar Dominion, a cruel empire of conquest, had set their eyes upon the Threlians' worlds. The Jar wanted resources, territory, and power. They had no care for life, no mercy for the weak. They crushed colonies with fire and they chained survivors. The Threlians had tried to resist, but their fleets were too small. Their ships were designed for travel and science, not for war. Against the Jar, they were like leaves before a storm. In desperation, the Threlian leaders gathered in their council chambers. The vast hall was carved from crystal, but it no longer felt safe. Outside, the sound of sirens echoed, reminding them that even their capital world was in danger. The High Speaker, a tall figure with silver-blue skin and calm eyes, stood before the council. "We cannot survive this war alone," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "The Dominion will erase us, and all our beauty will vanish. We must send a message beyond our borders. Somewhere someone must hear us, someone must care. But who would help us?" Another counselor whispered. "The other great powers fear the Jar. They will not risk war for us." The High Speaker's eyes closed. He knew it was true. The other species of the galaxy avoided the Jar. Many had signed treaties keeping themselves safe while weaker races were destroyed. Yet there was no other choice. The Threlians had to try, and so the engineers prepared the signal of hope. It was not only a call for aid, it was a cry from the heart of a people about to vanish. The message carried images of burning cities, of children hiding in ruins, of voices begging not to be forgotten. It was sent in every language the Threlians knew, across every channel, hurled into the deep night of space. The Threlians did not know if anyone would hear, but they prayed. Far away, light years from the burning Threlian colonies, the signal reached a very different world. A world that many in the galaxy feared. A world called Earth. Humans were not a part of the great galactic stage. They were newcomers, still whispered about in shadows. Other species called Earth a death world. Its storms were violent, its creatures dangerous, its environment harsh. To survive on such a planet, life had to be strong, adaptable, and relentless. And humanity had inherited those traits. When the Threlian message arrived, it shocked the human networks. On Earth, leaders and military commanders gathered to watch. The images of alien suffering filled the screens. Cities burning, families fleeing, entire worlds begging for help. For a long time, the room was silent. No one knew what to say. Finally, an admiral spoke. "We have the power to answer this call. But if we do, we will face the Jar Dominion. They are vast, and they are feared. To fight them is to risk everything." Another leader, a gray-haired woman who had seen many wars, leaned forward. "We cannot ignore this. Look at those faces. They are no different from us. They have children, homes, and dreams. If we turn away, then what do we stand for?" The debate raged for hours. Some argued for caution. Why should humans risk themselves for strangers across the stars? Others argued for honor. What good was strength if it was not used to protect the helpless? In the end, the decision was made. Humanity would not remain silent. They would answer. On the Threlian sanctuary world, weeks later, the skies were filled with sorrow. Refugees had come from destroyed colonies, carrying only what little they could save. Camps stretched across fields and valleys. Families huddled together, unsure if tomorrow would bring hope or death. The High Speaker stood among them, walking with slow steps. His heart was heavy. Every day brought new reports. Another colony lost, another fleet destroyed, and still, no one had answered their call. He feared the galaxy had abandoned them. Then one night, as the stars burned cold above, the air shook. The refugees looked up. A ripple of light spread across the sky. Strange shapes appeared in orbit, dark against the glow of the planet. At first, fear spread through the camps. Was it the jar come again to finish what they had started? But no. The ships were different. They were sharp, armored, and powerful in design. Their hulls were scarred from past battles. Their presence was heavy, like iron giants watching from above. The Threlian scientists quickly scanned the newcomers. Their instruments trembled as they reported, "These are not jar ships. Their technology is different. Their code, their signal, it matches the world called Earth." A murmur spread through the refugees. Earth? The Deathworld? The species that other empires feared to approach? The Threlians had heard whispers of humans, but they had never seen them. Soon, the voice of a human admiral reached them through translation devices. The message was simple and strong. "We received your call. We are here. You are not alone." For the first time in many months, the Threlians felt hope. They did not know what these humans were truly like. They did not know if they were saviors or something far more dangerous. But they knew this. Someone had come. Someone had listened. In the camps, children lifted their eyes to the sky and smiled. Families embraced. Even the high speaker let his tears fall. The galaxy had turned away. But the humans had not. Yet far away in the dark chambers of the Jar Dominion, word soon arrived of this new interference. "The Threlians are nothing," sneered a Jar warlord, his scales glittering under harsh light. "But humans? These newcomers dare to challenge us?" Laughter filled the chamber. To the Jar, the humans were fools. They believed no young species could stand against their might. The Threlians had never seen ships like these before. The humans had come with an armada, a great fleet that filled the skies. Their vessels were not graceful like Threlian cruisers, nor shining like Jar battleships. Human ships were dark, heavy, and scarred from many battles. They looked like predators that had survived storms, not like fragile works of art. At first, the Threlian refugees trembled. From their camps, they looked up and whispered, "Are these protectors? Or new conquerors?" The high speaker stood before the crowds. His silver-blue skin glowed in the campfires. He raised his hands and spoke calmly. "Fear not. These are the humans. They have answered our call. They are not the Jar." Still, doubt remained. For generations, rumors had spread about Earth and its people. The galaxy called it a death world. They said that to grow on Earth was to fight storms, poisons, and beasts every day. No other species could have risen there. To many, humans were half legend, half warning. Now those legends were real, hanging above the sanctuary world in steel and fire. The first meeting. Soon, a landing craft descended from the human flagship. It came down like thunder, shaking the ground. As it touched the landing zone near the refugee camp, the Threlians gathered around at a distance watching. The air shimmered with heat from the engines. The doors opened. Out stepped the humans. They were taller than many expected, wrapped in dark armor, their helmets shining under the sun. Weapons hung at their sides, but their movements were steady, not hostile. At their front walked an admiral, his uniform simple, yet firm. His hair was gray and his eyes sharp like steel. Through translation devices, his voice reached the Threlians. "We are the humans. We heard your cry. We have come to stand with you." The high speaker stepped forward. His voice was filled with both gratitude and worry. "We thank you, people of Earth. But do you understand what you face? The Jar Dominion has crushed empires far stronger than us. If you stand with us, they will come for you too." The admiral's answer was simple. His words carried the weight of unshakable resolve. "We are not afraid of them. We are Deathworlders. We have fought against worse, and we will fight again. The Jar will learn what it means to touch the innocent." The Threlians gasped. The humans spoke not like diplomats, but like warriors. To them, fear was not a chain. It was fuel. Whispers. Among the refugees, that night, the camp was filled with voices. Families sat close together, wondering about their new allies. Some were hopeful, some were afraid. "They are so strong," whispered a mother, holding her child. Perhaps they can save us. But what if they bring the Jar's fury even faster? An elder replied. Perhaps our end will come sooner. A young boy, his eyes bright, looked up at the sky where human warships glittered. No, he said. They came when no one else did. They will not let us fall. The boy's words spread like a spark through the camp. For the first time in many months, hope began to grow. The Jar respond far across the stars. In the throne chambers of the Jar Dominion, news of the humans' arrival spread quickly. The warlords gathered, their scaled faces twisting in pride and anger. Humans? One growled. Primitive creatures from a death world? They dare to stand against us? Another sneered. It matters not. We will crush them like insects. The galaxy will see that no one can defy the Dominion. Orders were given. Fleets were assembled. The Jar commanders prepared to send a massive force to the Threlian sanctuary world. To them, this was not war. It was a lesson. They would teach the humans their place. Preparations for war back on the Threlian world. The humans wasted no time. Their soldiers moved through the camps, speaking with refugees, sharing food and medicine. They were not gentle in appearance, but their actions were filled with quiet care. A Threlian healer watched as a human doctor treated wounded refugees with steady hands. She whispered in awe, "They destroy, but they also heal." Meanwhile, human engineers worked alongside Threlian scientists. They set up defense systems, scanners, and shields. Their technology was different. Less elegant than Threlian designs, but strong and adaptable. Every system was built not for beauty, but for survival. The High Speaker watched with interest. He realized something about the humans. They did not believe in perfection. They believed in endurance, and that made them dangerous to their enemies. First signs of the enemy days. Later, alarms sounded across the human fleet. Long-range scanners picked up movement, Jar warships heading straight for the system. The human admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship. His officers reported the numbers. A large fleet, heavily armed. The admiral only nodded. So they come? He turned to his crew. Signal the Threlian leaders. Tell them this. We will fight in the stars. They are not to fear. Their world will not fall while we stand. Hope and fear as the Jar fleet approached. The Threlian camps grew tense. Some families prepared to hide underground. Others gathered around human soldiers, hoping their strength was real. The High Speaker addressed the people. We must trust our new allies. We called into the dark, and they answered. Now we must believe in them. His words calmed many hearts, but not all. Some still feared that the humans, too, would fail. That night, a young Threlian girl asked her mother, "Will they protect us?" Her mother looked at the sky, at the human ships shining above. "I do not know, my child, but they came when no one else did. That must mean something." The human armada moves. The day came when the Jar fleet entered the system. Their warships filled the void like a swarm of predators. Their commanders laughed, certain of victory, but the humans did not hide. Their armada moved to meet the enemy head-on. On the Threlian sanctuary world, crowds gathered to watch the skies and the broadcasts sent from orbit. They saw the human ships forming lines, moving with discipline, their engines burning bright. The human admiral gave his command. All ships prepare for battle. Today the galaxy will see what it means to awaken Deathworlders. The waiting silence. For a long moment, space was silent. Two great forces faced each other, suspended between stars. The Threlians held their breath. The humans stood ready. The Jar waited to strike. The High Speaker looked up, his heart heavy with fear and hope. He whispered to himself, "May the stars watch over us all." And then the silence broke. The stars burned quietly, but silence never lasted long in war. The Threlian sanctuary world floated below, its people watching the skies in fear. Above them, two mighty fleets faced one another, the Jar Dominion's armada and the human fleet from Earth. The humans did not hesitate. On the bridge of the flagship Iron Resolve, Admiral Kane stood tall, his eyes fixed on the display. The Jar ships outnumbered his own, their hulls sharp and glittering. But Kane did not flinch. "Send word to the fleet," he ordered. "We meet them here. No retreat. No hesitation." The message spread through every human ship. Soldiers strapped into their stations, pilots gripped their controls, and engineers stood ready by the engines. Across the fleet, hearts burned with the same resolve. They would fight not only for themselves, but for the people who had cried for help. The enemy advances on the Jar command ship. The warlord laughed as he studied the human formation. "They are bold, but foolish," he hissed. "They think themselves warriors, but they are prey. Crush them." The Jar fleet surged forward, cannons charging. Their strategy was always the same: overwhelm, destroy, enslave. Against countless species, it had worked. They believed it would work again, but the humans were not like other species. The battle begins. The void lit up with fire. Jar cannons spat energy across the stars, blazing lines of destruction. Human ships shook as shields absorbed the first strikes. The fleet did not scatter. Instead, they held their line. "Return fire," Admiral Kane commanded. Human cannons roared. Missiles streaked through space, weaving between enemy blasts. Where Jar ships expected straightforward attacks, the humans delivered chaos. Missiles split into swarms. Some curved away, then struck from behind. Others exploded early, scattering metal shards that tore through Jar hulls. The Threelians, watching from their world below, gasped in awe. Never had they seen such unpredictable tactics. One young Threelian whispered, "They fight like storms, wild but unstoppable." Adaptation. The Jar pressed forward, relying on their numbers, but the humans adapted faster than any enemy they had ever faced. On the destroyer Vanguard, Captain Reyes shouted orders as his ship spun between incoming fire. "Angle shields, push engines to maximum, drop mines on their flank." Metallic spheres burst from the ship's hull, floating silently. When Jar cruisers followed, the mines exploded, ripping entire wings apart. Elsewhere, human frigates darted through the chaos like wolves, targeting weak spots in larger ships. They were smaller, but each strike was precise and devastating. The Jar commanders snarled in confusion. These humans fought as if they had no fear of death. They gambled, risked, and yet always seemed to come out stronger. The human spirit in the refugee camps. The Threelians huddled together around screens showing the battle. Children clutched their parents' hands. Every explosion in the sky made them tremble. Yet when they saw human ships push forward again and again, their fear began to turn into something else. Hope. The High Speaker stood among them, his voice calm but firm. "Do you see? These humans do not fight for conquest. They fight because we asked for help. They fight because it is right." Tears filled the eyes of many Threelians. For the first time in their history, someone had come not to take from them, but to defend them. The turning point. The Jar believed they had the advantage. Their fleet was larger, their weapons stronger, but numbers could not match human will. Admiral Kane studied the battle map. "They are pressing too hard on our center," he muttered. A plan formed in his mind. He turned to his officers. "Signal the flanking squadrons. Now is the time. Split the line. Cut off their core." Human ships moved with sudden precision. What looked like a collapsing defense became a trap. The Jar fleet pressed forward, only to find themselves surrounded on both sides. Human warships closed in like jaws snapping shut. "Fire everything we have," Kane commanded. The void blazed. Entire Jar cruisers vanished in storms of fire. Their commanders screamed in rage as their once proud formation crumbled. Close combat, but the battle was not over. The Jar, desperate, launched boarding craft toward human ships. Dark vessels slammed against hulls and enemy soldiers poured in. On the frigate Resolute, alarms blared as Jar warriors broke through the corridors. Human marines rushed to meet them. The clash echoed through the halls, armor striking armor, fists pounding shields, weapons firing in close quarters. The humans fought like predators defending their home. They moved with fury, yet also with unity. Where one faltered, another covered. Where one fell, another stood in his place. The Thrillian broadcast could not show every detail, but they carried enough to prove one truth. Humans never surrendered. The Jar retreat hours passed. The void was filled with wreckage, drifting metal, and fire. The Jar fleet, once so confident, now broke apart. Their commanders gave the unthinkable order: retreat. On the human flagship, Admiral Kane watched the enemy scatter. His jaw tightened, but he gave no cheer. He simply said, "Let them run. This is only the beginning." Across the sanctuary world, however, cheers did rise. The Thrillians cried out in joy. Families hugged each other. Children danced. They had seen the impossible. The Jar defeated in open battle. A new name that night, the Thrillian camps glowed with firelight. Songs were sung for the first time in many months. Food was shared. Laughter returned, though it was mixed with tears for those still lost. The High Speaker addressed the people. His voice carried across the camps. Remember this day. Remember who came when the galaxy turned away. Remember the Deathworlders. They fight not for power but for us. Let their courage be our strength. The word spread quickly. Deathworlders. At first, the name had been spoken with fear. Now it was spoken with respect. The Jar's anger far away, in the dark halls of the Dominion, the surviving warlords gathered, their faces twisted with rage and disbelief. Impossible, one hissed. No young race could stand against us. Another slammed his fist against the table. These humans are not like others. They must be destroyed completely. If we allow them to rise, they will become a threat to all. Plans were drawn. Fleets were reforged. The Jar would not let their defeat go unanswered. The human resolve on the flagship, Admiral Kane looked out at the stars. His officers stood around him. Exhausted but unbroken, one asked quietly, "Do you think they will come again?" Kane's voice was calm, steady as stone. "Of course they will. The Jar do not forgive, but neither do we retreat. We came here to protect, and that is what we will do, no matter the cost." His words carried through the fleet. Every human, from the highest officer to the youngest pilot, knew what they faced. But none doubted. They had chosen this path and they would see it through. The wreckage of the first battle still drifted in the void, glowing like dying embers. The Jar had been forced to retreat, but no one believed the war was over. On the Thrillian sanctuary world, people still lived in fear, even as they celebrated survival. The humans had proven their strength, yet everyone knew the Jar Dominion was vast and merciless. In the human flagship Iron Resolve, Admiral Kane gathered his commanders. Around the table, holograms of damaged ships flickered. Officers spoke of repairs, casualties, and supplies. But Kane's eyes were fixed on something larger. "They will come again," he said, "and next time they will not underestimate us. If we only wait here, we will be buried under the weight of their empire. That is why we cannot stay on defense. We must take the war to them." The room fell silent. One captain frowned. "You mean to strike Jar worlds?" "Their territory is huge. Their fleets are endless." Kane's voice was firm. "That is exactly why we must strike. Not to conquer, but to break their grip. We must show the galaxy that the Dominion can bleed." The plan was set. Humanity would not wait for the Jar to bring destruction again. The Deathworlders would carry fire into the heart of the enemy. The Thrillians react. When the High Speaker of the Thrillians heard of the plan, he was shaken. You would march into their empire. Even the strongest powers have not dared this. Admiral Kane met his gaze calmly. "We did not come to hide. We came because you called for help. If we leave the Jar unchecked, they will return to finish you. If we strike them, we give you a chance to live." The High Speaker bowed his head. "You are unlike any race I have ever known. You fight as if fear does not exist." Kane gave a faint smile. Fear exists, but on Earth we learned long ago that fear is not a chain. It is a teacher. The Threlian people listened to the news with mixed emotions. Some trembled at the thought of humans carrying war across the stars. Others whispered with awe. Perhaps the humans could do what no one else dared. The first strike, the campaign began weeks later. Human warships slipped through the void, traveling into Jar-controlled sectors. Their first targets were not core worlds but colonies and supply stations, the lifeblood of the Dominion. At the mining colony of Rethvar, Jar overseers whipped alien slaves into endless labor. Then the skies split open. Human destroyers descended, cannons blazing. The overseers shouted in rage, but their defenses were torn apart in minutes. When the battle ended, the slaves stood free, blinking in disbelief. Among them were Threlians, captured months earlier. They fell to their knees, tears running down their faces. One whispered, "I thought no one would come for us." A human marine helped him to his feet. "Someone always comes. This time, it was us." Word of the liberation spread quickly. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. The Deathworlders are striking back. The flame spreads. The campaign did not stop. Human fleets moved like storms, unpredictable and relentless. One week they shattered a Jar shipyard. The next, they ambushed a convoy carrying weapons. Everywhere they struck, the Jar were forced to retreat. On liberated colonies, aliens looked at the humans with both awe and fear. They had never seen warriors so fierce yet so gentle after the fight was done. Humans would destroy a fortress one moment, then carry alien children in their arms the next. A Threlian elder, rescued from chains, told his people, "They are like fire. Fire burns, but fire also gives light. Without them, we would still be in darkness." The Jar's fury in the great halls of the Dominion, the warlords boiled with rage. Maps of their empire showed scars where the humans had struck. "They are vermin," one roared. "No one has ever dared bring war into our home systems. Now these Deathworlders humiliate us." Another hissed, "They are too wild. They do not fight as others do. Every time we plan, they break our plans apart. They must be crushed utterly." And so, the Jar prepared their greatest counterattack. Entire fleets were pulled from distant borders. Weapons long hidden were brought into the open. The Dominion would not suffer such wounds without revenge. The human resolve and the iron resolve. Admiral Kane studied intelligence reports. He knew the Jar were gathering strength, but he also knew the humans could not stop. To retreat now would be to waste everything they had achieved. He addressed his officers. "We are not here only for the Threlians. We are here for every world the Jar have broken. If we strike hard enough, the galaxy will see the Dominion is not invincible. That hope will spread faster than any fleet." The officers nodded. They were tired, but their eyes burned with the same fire as their admiral. The liberation of Threlian colonies. The most daring strike of the campaign came when the humans moved to free Threlian colonies still under Jar rule. The colony of Lysara had been a jewel of Threlian culture. Now it was a prison camp, its towers broken, its people enslaved. Jar guards ruled with cruelty, believing no rescue would ever come. But the humans did come. The battle was swift and brutal. Human warships smashed orbital defenses. Dropships roared down through the sky, releasing Marines into the streets. The Jar tried to hold, but the humans pressed with relentless fury. And when it was done, the people of Lysara were free. The High Speaker wept when he heard the news. "You not only defended us, you brought back what we thought was lost forever." The view of the galaxy other species watched in silence. Many had lived for centuries under the shadow of the Jar, believing resistance was impossible. Now they saw a young species from a death world striking at the heart of the Dominion. Some whispered in fear, "If the humans can do this to the Jar, what will they do to others?" But many more whispered in hope. "If the humans can stand, perhaps we can too." The galaxy was beginning to change. The price of war, but victory always had a price. Human ships bore scars from every battle. Crews worked without rest to repair engines, patch hulls, and bury their fallen. Every victory carried names of those who would not return. Admiral Kane stood alone in his quarters one night looking at the stars. His face was calm, but his heart was heavy. He remembered the faces of the soldiers lost. He whispered quietly, "You did not fall in vain. The galaxy will remember." The Jar Strike Back the Dominion did not remain silent. Soon, news arrived. A massive Jar fleet was moving, greater than any before. They meant to end the humans once and for all. The High Speaker came to Admiral Kane, worry in his eyes. "They will come with everything they have. Can you stand against such power?" Kane's answer was steady. "We are Deathworlders. We do. Not run, let them come." The Threelians felt both fear and pride at his words. The humans were not like them, yet somehow they had become their shield. The galaxy holds its breath as the Jar prepared their counterattack, and the humans readied themselves for the storm. The galaxy watched. Every species, every colony, every hidden world held its breath. The question was no longer whether the humans could fight. The question was whether they could survive the full fury of the Dominion. And deep in the hearts of the Threelians, one truth burned bright. Whatever happened next, the humans had already changed everything. End of Part 4. The Campaign of Fire had begun. Humanity carried war into the Jar's own territory, liberating colonies and proving the Dominion was not untouchable. But now, the Jar gathered their greatest force yet, preparing for a final, desperate clash. The stars were filled with fire. For months, the human Deathworlders had struck across the Jar Dominion, liberating colonies, shattering fleets, and proving to the galaxy that no empire was untouchable. Yet the final battle remained. The Jar, homeworld GalacticPrime, lay ahead, a fortress world surrounded by orbital defenses, massive fleets, and the fiercest warriors the Dominion had to offer. The human Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the flagship Iron Resolve, staring at the holographic map of GalacticPrime. His officers looked tense, but his face was calm. "This is it," Kane said. "We fight not only for the Threelians, but for every world they have crushed. Today we end this war. All ships, ready yourselves. We strike at dawn." The fleet stirred. Engines hummed. Cannons charged. Marines checked weapons. Pilots ran simulations for the assault. Every human, from the youngest recruit to the highest admiral, knew the stakes, and yet none hesitated. The approach as the fleet neared GalacticPrime, the scale of the defenses became clear. Orbital stations bristled with energy cannons. Massive warships patrolled the space around the planet. Even the atmosphere was defended, with automated anti-air platforms and planetary guns. The Threelians watched from a distance via long-range relay. The sight filled their hearts with fear and awe. Some whispered, "There is no way they can win." Others simply prayed. Admiral Kane, however, was not afraid. He had studied every report, every intelligence briefing, every weakness. His plan was not reckless. It was precise, ruthless, and human. He addressed his fleet. Discipline, speed, and courage. Protect the innocent, strike the enemy. Nothing can stop us if we move as one. Today, the galaxy sees what it means to awaken Deathworlders. The battle begins. The first shots echoed across space. Jar cannons unleashed waves of energy, aiming to destroy the human fleet before it could reach the planet. Explosions lit the void, tearing metal apart. Human shields absorbed the hits, and return fire was immediate and devastating. Missile swarms streaked through space, weaving around enemy fire, striking weak points in the Jar formations. Human ships moved unpredictably, splitting into multiple attack vectors. Smaller vessels darted between larger ones, taking out cannons, engines, and turrets. From the orbital stations, the Jar could only watch in disbelief. These humans did not fight like any other species. They were willing to risk everything, adapt instantly, and push forward no matter the cost. Landing on GalacticPrime while the space battle raged above, human dropships descended through the upper atmosphere. They carried Marines and special units designed for ground combat, The surface of Jara Prime was harsh and hostile, even to its own people. Lava rivers, jagged mountains, and storms of ash made every step dangerous. Yet the humans moved with purpose. They navigated the terrain with precision, neutralized automated defenses, and began securing key locations. Jar warriors fought fiercely on the surface, but humans were relentless. They advanced in waves, covering one another, striking with both strategy and brute force. No building was too fortified, no enemy too numerous. The Thralians witnessed courage from orbit. The Thralians observed every move. They saw humans climbing over walls, breaching Jar fortresses, and freeing imprisoned aliens. Families they had feared lost forever were carried to safety. One Thralian elder whispered to a child, "They are like storms. You cannot stop them, yet they protect those who cannot fight. Do you see? This is what courage looks like." Children stared in awe. For the first time in their lives, they saw hope not as a dream, but as a force in action. The Jar counterattack desperation drove the Jar to strike back with their strongest units. Massive warships entered orbit. Elite soldiers poured into battle on the ground. They launched everything they had, hoping to crush the humans before the planet fell. But the humans anticipated this. Admiral Kane had prepared multiple contingency plans. Fleets adapted to every maneuver. Marines adjusted formations with precision. Engineers repaired damaged vehicles even under fire. The Jar were powerful, but the humans were unpredictable, relentless, and coordinated. Every attack that should have succeeded was countered. Every plan the Jar thought secret had already been anticipated. Breaking the core. The final objective was the Jar Central Citadel, the heart of their empire. It floated on a plateau surrounded by lava rivers, heavily guarded and nearly impossible to approach. Human forces advanced from multiple sides. Bombardments from orbit softened defenses. Elite Marines stormed the gates. The battle inside was brutal, with corridors filled with the clash of armor, weapons, and strategy. Every step forward was hard won. Admiral Kane oversaw the attack from the command center nearby. Through holographic feeds, he guided his forces, providing instructions with calm authority. Finally, after hours of relentless fighting, the Citadel fell. The Jar leadership was captured or destroyed. Their fleets scattered or surrendered. The Dominion had been broken. The victory as news spread across the galaxy. Whispers grew into shouts. The Jar Dominion, once feared as unstoppable, was no more. Human Deathworlders had carried war into the heart of the enemy and emerged victorious. The Thralians wept openly. Families hugged those they had thought lost. Children laughed for the first time in months. Their homes, once threatened with total annihilation, were finally safe. High Speaker spoke to the human admiral via communication. "You have done what no one else dared. You have saved our people, our culture, and our hope. We will never forget this." Kane's response was simple. "We fought because it was right. We do not seek conquest, only justice." The galaxy remembers. Other species observed the outcome with a mixture of awe and fear. Humanity had risen from a death world untested by the galaxy and had defeated one of its greatest empires. Some whispered in hope, "If humans can defeat the Jar, perhaps we too can resist oppression." Others whispered in caution, "The humans are powerful. To challenge them would be unwise." The legend of the Deathworlders had spread beyond the Thralian worlds. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy, not through conquest but through courage, strategy, and unyielding will. The cost of war. Even in victory, humans counted the cost. Ships were battered, and many brave souls had fallen. Every name was remembered, every sacrifice honored. Human engineers repaired what they could, and bodies were respectfully returned to homeworlds or proper memorials. Admiral Kane addressed his fleet one final time. "This war is over, but we do not celebrate carelessly. We honor those who gave everything, and we remind the galaxy that strength carries responsibility. Protect those who cannot protect themselves, always." A new era with the Jar defeated. The Thralians began rebuilding their worlds. Humans helped with infrastructure, medical aid, and defense systems. The galaxy slowly began to change. Systems once ruled by fear began whispering about hope. The Threelians taught humans about their culture, and humans shared stories of Earth, a planet forged in harsh conditions, where survival meant endurance, courage, and determination. Children of the Threelian worlds grew up hearing tales of the humans who had arrived when all others had turned away. They called them the Deathworlders, a name once feared, now spoken with respect and love. The final word, in the quiet moments after the war, Admiral Kane stood on the observation deck of the Iron Resolve. The stars stretched endlessly before him. He thought of the Threelians, of his fallen crew, and of the galaxy itself. The war had ended, but a new responsibility had begun. Humanity had proven itself, not just as warriors but as protectors. And the galaxy, once silent and indifferent, would never be the same. High Speaker approached, his voice calm and sincere. Humanity, you did not just fight. You gave us life, hope, and a future. For that, we are forever in your debt. Kane nodded. We did what anyone would do. The galaxy will always have darkness, but light is always stronger if you fight for it. And so, the humans turned their fleet homeward. The Jar Dominion lay in ruins, the Threelian worlds were safe, and across the galaxy, the name of the Deathworlders spread, a symbol of courage, resilience, and the unwavering human spirit. End of Part 5. The war was over. Humanity had carried the fight to the enemy, freed the oppressed, and reshaped the galaxy. The Threelians would rebuild, the Jar would remember the price of cruelty, and humans would forever be known as unstoppable protectors, the Deathworlders who answered the cry for help.